Hey, good morning. Center for Spiritual Living, Palm Desert and beyond, wherever you are. My guest coming on in just a second. You should be seeing his wonderful face here in just a moment. Jeff Harrison. You there, my friend?
Here we are. Here we are. Thank
Hey,
you.
there he is. That's the man. That's his face. That's the face that goes with the voice. And he has graciously decided to come out from the producer's booth, the Swing Point Media producers booth, which you actually see behind him. So he's actually not so much out from behind it, but right in front of it. And very grateful that he is the guy that basically makes our virtual community go at this point. And so I'm very grateful. I thought it'd be a cool idea to interview him and see get his perspective on things right now. So good morning, Jeff. Welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, Reverend Charles. I really appreciate it. It's always a lot of fun to kind of come out from behind and see what's going on, look at it from the other direction. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Good stuff. So I thought we'd just start with kind of a where you come from and how you got to the point where you are now. At this point, you have a very successful, your Swing Point Media company is doing extraordinary things. But if we rewind a number of years, so you're from West Texas, is that right?
Well, I kind of grew up and went to high school and college in West Texas. I was actually born in Colorado, but my stepdad was in the oil business, and it seemed like we moved about every year. And we spent a lot of time in Texas, went back and forth there a little bit. And so a lot of times I'll refer, hey, I'm just a kid from West Texas. We try to keep things real simple. 1 + 1 always equals 2.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that's something we can hang our hat on, right? In this day and age, 1 + 1 does equal 2. Last time I checked.
Yeah, I say that. It said, hey, no matter where you're out on the planet, 1 + 1 always equals 2, and that's that stable line that we can at least swim back to. It's like, if you're in the pool, swim to the side and hold on. That's kind of there, and then get your breath and go on from there.
And then you can do tricks or whatever you want to do, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you were a professional golfer, and so you're a golf professional and a professional golfer. You've got some history there with, you were on tour for a little bit, and when did you become a professional golfer? And talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things. When I grew up in West Texas, when I went there for high school, I was really a baseballer. I was a pitcher all the way up until then, and I was really a very accomplished pitcher and loved to do that. But then when I moved to West Texas, as a high school, it was the largest high school I'd been in, or school I'd been in, and I went to PE class the first day, and it was very intimidating. I grew up at that point, I'd been in Wyoming, and it was very much a Caucasian, type of location. And when I went to West Texas in Odessa, I was one of the few white kids there. It was very intimidating, quite honestly. And that day I was walking out of there and I thinking, how do I get out of this PE class? I don't want to go back. And as I was walking out, there was this guy that stopped me. He says, hey, do you play golf? And I said, why? And he told me, I said, will it get me out of PE? And he said, absolutely. I said, I'm a golfer. So I started playing golf at 15, and I had some old old clubs, Northwestern. I'm sure you've heard of those, that I used when I go see my grandma in the summer. And I started practicing. I didn't make the team, obviously. I shot 144 a couple times, and I knew that wasn't quite good enough. And so I talked the coach in to give me a bag of range balls. And every day my parents would drop me off at a little schoolyard, because there really weren't drive ranges back then. It was okay to hit off the schoolyard. And every day I hit balls. And about 2 months later, I was on the team and I ended up being the most accomplished at that. And I was shooting in the mid-70s by the end of my first year.
Wow. That's improvement there.
It was inspiration or desperation, man. I did not want to go back to that PE class.
Somehow you're going to make something happen.
Yeah. I ended up going to college, and then my whole goal after as a golfer, I mean, it is like it got really deep in my soul, and I was so passionate about it. That was something I did every day, every waking moment. And I thought, what I want to do is I want to play golf for a living. I saw the greatest players, and I was fortunate to be around some of the best players at that time, Tom Kite and Ben Crenshaw and whatnot. And I thought that's what I want to do. And so after I got out of college, I turned pro, and I was playing and did that for about 2.5 years. And unfortunately, that was during the oil boom in Texas, and it also was in the bust. So I had to get real and go back to a real world for a while, and then gave it one more shot in Canada, and here we are.
Here we are. Well, I think even the casual, I know there's a number of golfers in our community, but even the casual golf fan, or even somebody who's really not, I mean, Ben Crenshaw, Tom Kite, those are some big names. You hung out around some folks. So who were, just as an aside, when you were growing up and learning the game, who were the folks that you looked at to wow, this is these are the golfers of the time right now?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think when I was growing up, Jack Nicklaus was just kind of getting to the end of his era. And I really loved Tom Watson because, that redheaded guy, just so fiery, and he just did not know what stop meant. And, there was no quit in his game. And then as I started really trying to make my swing more efficient and effective, and that would hold up under pressure, I was more of a Nick Price and then a Nick Faldo fan, because Nick Faldo is such a mechanic of the swing. I mean, he's such a great mind. And so that's when I really learned what the swing was. And because it can be very, very frustrating. It was one of those times where I'd be in contention and then shoot 72 and fall off the leaderboard. And I didn't know why. And I wanted to know why. So that was kind of my first thing is go back to the seed and fix the seed, and the plant will grow better. And that made a big difference for me.
So that's something that anybody can take away right now, just as far as the fundamentals of golf is based on principles. I mean, there are laws in golf, and it's the same with life. And those I've always loved how they're interchangeable. They can translate. How do we hold up under pressure? When it's us, when it's me, when it's you. The pressure of, with the COVID coming around, with all sorts of stuff happening, how do we hold up under pressure?
Yeah, I remember there was a point where I was starting to do public speaking, and even though I'd been trained as a public speaker, the first time I spoke in front of a large group was in Detroit, and there were about 600 people there. And when I stood in the back of the room, and I'd never done this before, the thought that went through my mind was, I'm standing back there, and they're probably 2 minutes away from calling me up there, is I said, wait a second, this is no different than me getting in my pre-shot routine before I tee off on tour. And that helped me through. So that was that process that, and then I just love that. I mean, since then, I was at one point, I was speaking probably 50 weeks a year. And,
wow.
And love that. Wow.
So do I have this right? You have 7 holes in one, or hole in ones? How do we say that? Is that, you have 7, 9?
No, actually I have 9.
9.
Yeah.
Oh.
As I look on my wall, I've got a couple of flags over here from locations, and yeah. But when you play as much golf as you do, I was playing 350 days a year, and the chances, my odds went way up from that person who plays once a week. So
totally. I mean, I've been playing a while, and I haven't played ever close to 350. I'm waiting for my first one. My buddy Matt Lord, if you ever catch wind of this back home, he plays less than I do, and he has 2.
Oh, geez.
So life isn't fair. That's what I'm saying. It's just not. Stinker. Okay, so you went from golf pro. You're one of the few people that made money. You made a living for a couple of years playing golf, and then I remember you telling me a story that at one point you were in the midst of a tournament, and all of a sudden, and I related it to ministry, that at one point I really realized I can't find the joy in this anymore. And this is a number of years ago. So so you were in the midst of a tournament at one point, or a practice round or something, and you couldn't find the joy? And did you throw a club, or you broke one or something? I don't know. You basically cracked in that moment, right? And something opened up inside of you. The way I interpret it, something died, but also something opened up inside of you.
Yeah, I was in San Diego. I was at the Andy Williams San Diego Open at the time, is what it's called, and I was going down the fairway on a par 5, and I was doing pretty well. And through the first 9 holes, I think I was a couple under par. And at that time, a guy named Keith Clearwater was 8 under par through 14 holes. I'm thinking, gee, I thought I played pretty well. And I'm like, I kind of went back in my head of what this guy, the holes I'd played. I'm like, man, he just birdied everything. But anyway, so I'm going down this par 5, and I hit a stray shot And it was still at that point where I didn't know why the ball did what it did. I didn't understand the physics and the mechanics of that. I just knew I was a good athlete, and I would out practice anyone. And I hit another stray shot, and something just snapped. And I don't throw clubs, but I did that day. And because my dad said, anytime he said, first of all, I said, if you throw a club, he said, you're going to pay for it. And we grew up pretty tight, and so I financially, so I never did that. But I threw a club, and it broke. I threw it end over end instead of a helicopter, if you will, and it broke. And I picked up the two pieces, and I walked off the golf course. I didn't play golf again for 7 years.
Wow. Wow. So what happened?
I just got tired of that up and down, if you will, and then I think I was 31 at the time when I said, I want to do this again, but I want to know why. So I started understanding the principles and the laws of physics. And I love physics. I mean, I went through that in high school and college, and I love that kind of stuff. And I understood that, if you can control the direction and the speed of your golf ball, this is an easy game. So I kind of backtracked and said, well, what does it take to control the direction? And not to get too deep in the weeds, but I understood, path and club face, that did that. And the speed of your club equals this. And when I did that, all of a sudden it's like this massive cloud went away of why do I hit it like this instead of what do I have to do to hit it like this? And yep. It made such a difference.
So that's when I hear that, I hear someone right now saying, why is my life the way that it is, without understanding that we live within spiritual laws, and that it's not just chance and randomness. So we think it happens like that sometimes, of life just is what it is, or life isn't fair, or whatever it is. But we can actually apply spiritual principles to our life to have it go in the direction that we want to have without sounding corny, the ball of our life go in the direction we want it to go. Our intentions are, where are we putting our attention? Things like that. Would you agree from just kind of marrying the two ideas?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, in fact, I'm going to take that one step further. And we've had this discussion, and I know I've had a discussion with Reverend or Dr. Laura, and this whole thing of if I'm becoming is still saying in our psyche that we're not there yet. So we still keep seeing evidence of why we're not there, instead of saying, wait a second, just like in the golf swing, if I want to hit it straight, I have to make the club go down the path and the club face square to the target line at impact. So with life, we say, well, I want to be happy. So I look at it and say, then be happy. And if you're not sure, what are the ingredients to be happy? As an example, if one has shallow breath and their eyes are down and their shoulders are slumped and they're walking slowly, those are not the characteristics of being happy. And so you'd have to say, what I have to do? I have to take deeper breaths. Maybe I'm walking a little faster. My eyes are up, my shoulders are back, and immediately a physiological change occurs, and it releases those endorphins to say, I am being happy at this moment, and then adopting that. So you just keep going on and on. And I think that's purely spiritual principle in action. And one of the things, Reverend Charles, is the part that always kind of rubbed me wrong. I didn't get it at first, is acting as if. And I'm like, well, how do I act as if I don't have those things? And then when I realized I just changed one word, be. Yeah. And then look at, reverse engineer what are those ingredients and start being that person. Immediately, it's like it changes your headlights from those old dull headlights to those ultra high beam LED, and the land looks very different.
Yeah, yeah. And I think for some people it seems like a million miles between, if I'm, using your illustration, shoulders are slumped, breathing, can't get a full breath, exactly how you described it. The million miles for people between being that, doing that, and then opening up, like how do we, it's just a matter of taking that one, what seems like a million miles, but a tiny step to broaden ourselves and then feel what that feels like. It's just a choice, right? Does it come down to just a simple choice? Like in this moment, this isn't comfortable anymore. I'm not happy. I need to choose something else and then expand and open up and see what happens.
Totally. I really do believe it's a choice. Now, there was a part of my life that I used to invest in real estate, and I thought I was in a really good place. And in 2008, the world changed. And even though I was a very conservative real estate investor, I got killed. And it was tough. I was in some dark places, and I could not see my way out of that at that time. And people around me says, well, you just have to do this. You have to do this. And I didn't get it. And finally, when I realized, and that's when I started coming to the center, this was, 10, 12, 13 years ago. And I started understanding and applying those spiritual laws. I honestly say, probably the center and my wife saved my life because it was a very dark place. And when I started doing that, I said, I can't walk around as a victim and expect my life to change. Right. I have to start adopting those. So I started integrating the books and reading and coming to, I consumed every class. And, it took a while for me because I was still resisting that. But the more I look at it like this, say, if I had a glass of muddy water, how can I make that glass clear? Well, the only way I can do it is put in clear, pure information. And over time, it changes and it is clear water. If I keep putting mud in there, it will never change. And that was that part I had to stop putting the mud, the negative thinking in my mind. And, here we are. I'm not perfect by any stretch of imagination. A lot of people say I am, but I'm not.
Does your wife?
Just
people that really matter?
Yeah, that's so.
Do we bring Carmen in? Should we open the door? And another special guest.
Carmen. I did lock the door, so she's not coming in.
So okay, so you took a big hit in real estate and you started to wake up a little bit when you came to the center and things, but now you have a very successful Swing Point Media. Yeah. You support tons of businesses. I'm not even aware of the full scope of what you do. So take us through that a little bit. Was that born out of 2008? You started coming to the center. What happened in that transition period, and then got you? It sounds like you kept putting clear water in there. You kept putting pure thought and idea. Talk to us a little bit about the timeline of how you got from there to here.
Yeah, what I did is I kind of did what I said. I had to pull off into a safe haven. So I went back to doing what I know and what I'm very good at, and that is the golf industry. So I took a job at La Quinta Resort in PGA West, and I was director of sales and marketing there. And that allowed me to do what was required there at a very high level without a lot of stress, because I did that. I'd done it for 25 years and I was very good at it. So that made it easier for me. And it allowed me to kind of get some footing, if you will. And then one day, a friend of mine came and he wanted to do this TV show. And I'm not the subject, but because of my position, I was going to be on the show, and I just loved it. Well, then shortly after, he left and went to work for Tony Robbins, and the owner of the show, Rich Oliphant, said, "Hey, would you be the host?" And I said, "I'd love to." And I just fell in love with the whole idea of video and saw the power of it. And I started developing golf videos at the time. And we made about, I think, 100 videos called Golf Etiquette Moments. And they were sent out every week on, where to stand and how to play golf, not from a teaching standpoint, but just that stuff that, you go to putt and you turn around because somebody's in your line. Well, we were going to teach that. So those were very successful. We were getting like 55 or 60,000 views a week from all over the world. So I really loved that. I said, "Hey, I think I got something."
Yep.
And that just evolved into saying that same concept and doing videos for businesses and of all kinds, help them with their business. And so I just kept doing that. And then we really start tying in the marketing pieces and the technology. And, now we service companies around the country, and, we do Dickey's Barbecue. We just signed up Jimmy John's. We do restaurants. We do car dealerships, hospitals, charitable events. We do things like that. So I'm blessed to be able to use what I love to do. I love creating. And I think that comes from that golf thing, when you're behind a tree and like, how do I get out of here? And all of a sudden you're on the green. So yeah, that's kind of how it's evolved. And I just love what we do. And we're just really blessed, and we're growing. And, one of the things I'll just set this is, when this whole thing started, and I have to 100% give credit to the teaching that I was given through the Center for Spiritual Living. And this is one of the things I said is, I can choose to go into this shelter in place and say, hey, I have no control of this. Or I can say, I'm going to be stronger, and so are all of my clients when we come out of this than when we went in. And I can point on my board over here with our clients, and we get reports. I had a client that they do barbecue cleaning, right? And he was telling me that already in the month of June. Now, these are people that they're closed off. Nobody's going out to dinner, and they actually done more business this year than last year. And then, golf cart companies that we have, and they sold more golf carts than they've ever sold in those months. And their business was closed because of what we do. And to me, that brings me great joy. And I love doing that.
So because of what we do, we have to unpack that a little bit. It seems, because I want folks that are listening this morning to actually come away with some practical something. What is it that when you say, what do we do? Because of what we do, what does Swing Point Media do? What do you do with your clients that empowers them, that actually lends to this? Because I know for me that when I've got, a foot of support in my back and somebody cheering me on, I can feel that, and that's, I've experienced that with you through the center and the work that we do. And hey, I've got this great idea and we can do this. So talk to us a little about what is your relationship with your clients, and how do you support them, and what empowers that?
Yeah, I personally take a one-on-one relationship with almost every client we have. And with me, like yesterday with a client, brand new client coming aboard. And, I asked them real clearly, I said, what does success look like for you? What are your goals? And then we'll back into it. And sometimes I have to say, we're not the right company, but in this case we were. So we look at it and say, this is what we can do through proven results that we've had with many other clients. And we can put this in place, and we can get you to where you want to go. Yep. And all the way through there, we're having conversations, we're checking information. And I think one of the biggest shifts for most of our clients has been from, it's really not about us and our business. It's about the people we serve. And that's a mind shift. And I know it, like with you, it's not about, hey, how great you are as Reverend Charles, but how can you help those people that are looking at you? And so for me, I think everybody I talk to and all of our clients, my goal is to say, where are you at now? Where do you want to be? And then my job is that creative piece, and says, how can we get there the soonest and the least expensive way? And can you do this? Can you do these pieces? And so I don't know if that answers your question, but I would say we're one-on-one with all of our clients pretty closely.
Well, I think so, because I'm a big fan of team, and I'm sure that when you were a golfer, you had your support staff around you. As a man, you've got family, your wife, and other the center and other folks around you that support you, and I think that's the big part to me, is the idea of team, that we have people that ask the questions. Where do you want to go? Are you happy? Are you satisfied with where you are? No. Okay, well then what do you want? Okay, well let's talk about how to get there and strategizing. And it doesn't necessarily, have to be a coach that you hire, though that's helpful. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be a course at COD that you sign up for, though that's helpful. Just those individuals that are around us, that we gather around us, that become our team. Support, they criticize appropriately, they empower, those things. And I continue to kind of harp on that with our community, of how important it is to have your people around you, especially right now when there's so much anxiety, when there's doubt and there's fear. What I hear is that you're a vital cog in the wheel, a vital part of the team that says, we can do this, let's go. Period.
Yeah, it's just about 3 weeks ago, we brought on 3 new people. And in the first meeting I had on our big whiteboard, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go as a team. And that's why they're there. Yep. Because we can only go so far as ourselves. And I love that collaboration, if you will, because even though, if it's out there, it's in here, sometimes there's still a little debris in the way and we won't see it. But we might start a conversation of, hey, this is what we want to have. And then you'll come along, you'll jump in and you'll have those extra pieces. Well, that doesn't happen if you're on the trail by yourself.
Yep.
But when you're together. So I love that whole process. And I think of each customer that comes aboard is they're part of that team. And it's not just about me, is they already have that answer inside. What does it look like? But I sometimes will have to ask the right questions to dig that out of them. Because I think when they're invested, their buy-in is a whole different level because it is part of their idea. It's not just me.
Yep. So backing up just a little bit. So you essentially trained yourself in this, right? When you transitioned from the golf industry into your media business, you are a seeker of knowledge, right? You're relentless in self-education. Do I have that accurate? Which is important. Which is important for the folks that are out. It's not, we can just expect to have success without pounding the pavement a lot. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I think of it like a plant. It cannot grow up until it gets nutrients out of the ground. And to me, those nutrients are education, whether it's a one-on-one with you, it's a book, it's going to a seminar, it's sitting down at somebody's feet that's much smarter than I am. And there's a bunch of people. Sometimes it's a crowd. And then that allows me to grow taller. And if I can then take that and move forward, I think that's important. But absolutely, I every morning, part of my ritual is I get up in the morning and I sit over here at this desk behind me and I write every day. And then I have some quiet time. And to me, that's that meditation time. And then I spend another 15 or 20 minutes either reading or watching and learning more about my craft, whether it's psychologically, physically. So yeah, I love that. And like I said, when I first started the center, my wife and I, we took every class there was available. And, it was always one of those things. Dr. Laura says, well, why don't you sign up to be a practitioner? I'm like, man, I just don't have time.
Yeah. I'm doing it. I'm demonstrating over the place anyway. Hey, I just got a couple comments I wanted to, let's see. Pondering newcomer, peer support from a community of like thinkers inspires, elevates, and motivates you to do your best work, LD. Yep. Thank you, LD. Russ D. Thank you, Jeff, for all you do to make a positive difference in the lives of many grateful people. We love you. Good stuff.
Well, I got to say,
so you work in your business with.
What's that?
Oh, go ahead.
I said, I got to say a shout out to Russ and D. I love how you take the week or the day and you'll make your little emojis, if you will, and send them. And, they've been so supportive, but I love the fact that they're not only supportive, but they're also honest. And I really appreciate that. Keep that up. And everybody who comes, a pondering newcomer, I know there's somebody who is there often, and thanks for coming in. The only way we change, and this, Reverend Charles, is the only way we change is we keep putting ourselves in position that makes us stretch. We always see that circle and say, here's your comfort zone. We want to play outside that. And I'm working on a new little thing that said, I'm setting outside a box, because I can't tell you the last time I actually worked in a box. There's no such thing as that. We just try it and move on. Yeah,
right on. Amen. I found a show on Netflix yesterday. I think it's called Magnetic, and it's about I'll just call them athletes, but folks that find the most extreme conditions in the world and play them. So, for example, the biggest waves in the world are found in a place off the coast of Portugal.
Wow.
Like 100 foot waves, and these folks are surfing them. And it's interesting. They talk about the guy that drives the jet ski or the gal that drives the jet ski and the tandem they have with the surfer and how they have to work together so pristinely. I mean, think of 100 foot wave. I mean, it's massive.
That's a 10-story building.
It's a 10-story building. And so they're going to surf these things. And so they talk about the adrenaline rush and what it takes to be able to do that, and the growth as a person and as an athlete. You don't just go out there and surf 100 foot wave, right? You start. They talk about, I started surfing when I was 6, et cetera, et cetera. But then what they can accomplish through consistent, disciplined practice based on what their commitment is and what they want to achieve. Another one was in this particular peak in France that I think maybe only one other person has actually skied. And how they have to get it right. And, it takes a team and all this kind of stuff. I was just really taken by that. The idea of magnetic and I think the thrust of it is you can't stay complacent.
Mhm.
When we talk about complacency and we talk about, complacency is stagnation, and stagnation is hell. And that's where we're frustrated and angry all the time. We don't know why, but we're not mixing it up and challenging ourselves. Just to your point, Jeff, of what do we have to do to stay on the edge of ourselves? I call it getting comfortable with being uncomfortable as a life experience.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think it's, I think part of that, when I was a kid growing up, and we don't see this a lot anymore, where we as kids couldn't go on the golf course, but we could practice as much as we want. And I had two other friends we practiced with a lot. And really all we did was spend time challenging ourselves to hit these crazy shots over trees. You're just going, it just can't happen. And then we would do it. And so then when we were in a real situation, there really wasn't a tree we couldn't get over or get around. And we keep practicing that. And we'd be out there for 5 to 6 hours, and then we could finally go out before it turned dark in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So I think that's important. And I'll give you an example. And again, this is not patting me on the back. This is encouraging you, if you're watching or listening, to say,
Absolutely.
Try it. About 4 weeks ago, maybe 5 weeks ago, one of our clients that was new coming aboard was having some financial challenges, and said, hey, let's have a virtual concert. Now, we'd never done a virtual concert. And even as I say it, I get a little tingle because I had no idea what we were doing. Now, we do tons of live streaming, obviously, but this was now coordinating people from all different places into one location and actually making it work.
Love it.
And in less than 10 days, we had that up and running, and it worked out really well for them. And tomorrow night, Friday night, we're doing another one. We're doing it for another charity. And to me, that's exciting because now I've gotten over one of those trees. So now we're kicking it up a notch. And I think the only thing that holds us back is fear of someone saying something about us. And I think when we get to that point, we said, my wife says this, and now I've repeated it back to her: you do you, I'll do me.
You do
That's
you.
it. And I know you've heard this recently. I'll just be me, and it's not about you. I'm going to do my very best. And I think, to me, it's like you just keep pushing the envelope.
Yeah. And the geniuses, if we look at over the course of time, the real culture changers, the folks that have changed, group thought, from a just a humanity standpoint, are the folks that were way out there, and they're typically the folks that were brought down somehow, but they were the folks that were way out there. They're, that maybe we only called them geniuses after they were assassinated or whatever it was, but those are the people that were like, let's look at this an entirely different way. How's that sound? And to do that, even in our own lives, I mean, personally, today, hey, I want to look at this an entirely different way. The community that exists inside of us might say, what the hell are you talking about, man? It's going to kill the rest of us. You want to actually have a revolution of thought of how you look at your life and start to walk down a new empowered path or a different path. There's no way this can work. You're going to die. Everybody's going to laugh at you, whatever it is. And to have the courage to walk that way because we're led that way, that's where a team comes into place. Yeah, people might think you're crazy, Charles. People might think you're crazy, Jeff, but is it in your heart? Is it dancing on your heart? Then go. We're right here with you.
Yeah. It reminds me of Henry Ford when he said, if I would have asked people what they wanted, they just want faster horses. And he didn't go, and he said, I'm going to build this automobile. And they said nobody would buy it because they're all black. But he kept that 1+1. Let's just produce the product and show that it works, and then we'll get fancy down the road. And I think that's part of it is, we just have to keep saying, hey, what can I do today better than I did yesterday? Am I getting better every day? Because if not, we have two choices. We're living or we're dying. I think that's it. And, if you put your foot on the gas, whatever that is, I'm not saying you got to be crazy, but maybe give it a little more gas today than you gave it yesterday, and just keep moving.
Amen. Yeah. So in your business now, very successful business, you work with folks that are of various faith traditions, various political affiliations, sexual orientation, whatever it is, you have a broad client base. What what guides you as far as, in a day and age where it seems like so many people are, a lot of people are coming forward and saying, okay, we need to unite. There's still a lot of people that are going into their own corner saying, come out fighting, and this is my stance. But you have a broad client base. Other than making the big bucks, what other than loving to make a lot of money, which there's everything right about that. What guides you as a company? You as the chief executive, and what allows you as a human being to work with so many different people when it can be easy to just work with somebody that thinks like you.
Yeah, I think I have to take it back a little bit when I first started working with businesses, and one day this is in that 2008, 2009, and I start seeing people who put their life's passion into their business. I'd see a little business open up, and then 3 or 4 weeks later be out of business. I know they put everything they had into that. It just stripped them away. And one thing I started noticing was the one thing that they didn't know what to do, and that's to let people know about their business. They were great at making cookies or fixing tires or whatever that is. That's their skill set, but they didn't know how to do the other part. And I thought, what I'm going to do is I want to work with people that have a passion for what they do. They love what they do. Like, I know you love what you do. I can hear it in your voice whenever we're filming that because I got to turn the volume down because there's passion. And to me, I look at that and say, I don't care what nationality, what color, what your beliefs are. Are you passionate about what you do? And from that, here's our staff. I got a guy from Australia. I've got a young man who is Black and he's gay. I've got a female. I have a young Cuban man who's phenomenally talented. We have people that work for us all over the world. It's not about who they are, it's what they are. And so when they come to the plate and they have passion, that's what I'm looking for. And it doesn't matter. And so, we work with like Coachella Valley Rescue Mission. We work with the Center for Spiritual Living. We have another church we work with. We work with all kinds of businesses, car dealerships. And it's because if it's just like, hey, I just want to make more money, anybody can do that. You're just looking for but you're passionate about it. You're invested in that. I want to help your dream come true, because it just tore my heart out when I knew that those people now may have lost their home. They're now sleeping in a car because they don't have anything. They put everything behind that and didn't work out. And it just kind of reminded me when I was playing golf and I gave it all I got, the old, I given it all, she's got kept, and it's just not working. That I felt like I had that key that maybe could help.
Yeah. Right on. And I found too that part of what inspires me is people's story. Like the young man from Cuba, the guy from Australia, being a Black gay man. That's, there's a story there, so but they're also the soul that they bring to your company, the soul they bring to our center, or whatever it is. There's a story there that will empower individuals as well, because we can bring our experience, whether it be empowering or disempowering, whether we've been squashed down or lifted up. There's something there that makes Swing Point Media. I would suggest there's something that makes Swing Point Media even more special because of that makeup.
Thank you. I think it's one of those things that, and I'll go a little woo-woo here for a second, but I think when we think of ourselves as
unicorn energy.
Hey, I looked on there. I didn't see a unicorn, but okay. But anyway, so it's one of those things when we think of ourselves different, and I mean different, like let's say I'm a white gay man and now I'm different, then I will be treated differently. But if I look at myself as I am a gift from God and I was put here to make an impact and to play full out, it doesn't matter. I can accept just about anyone and work with just about anyone, because it's not about me anymore. It's not about it's about me giving out my entire best, whatever that talent is.
Yep. Yeah. Amen. How are we on time right now, Trey? Do we have a time check?
10:40.
10:40. Okay.
Geez, I wish we had some questions here. It's
do we? Yeah, bring in anybody. Great questions, terrific answers. Thank you, Adair. Please, we are welcoming questions. This is a live situation, and we want to hear from you. Anything from Jeff? Anything from me? Anything from I
You
guess
don't have
Jeff.
to make stuff up. It could get really wild.
Okay, well, in light of, so please bring the questions in. We want them. This is an open forum here. So what are you finding in the world right now? What are you finding? What's the contribution that that I say that, kind of the country's on fire, and it's starting to kind of dribble over into the world, and we've got Black Lives Matter. We've got the COVID thing and restrictions being lightened, but cases going up because of restrictions being lightened. How does your company support, let's just call it the enlightenment of humanity, and how we can become a greater human family, one human family?
Well, I think
It's a big question, I understand.
What's that?
It's a big question, I understand, but you're up for it.
Yeah, I think again, when we say, okay, we need to stop and listen, and really listen with an open mind without preconceived ideas. And I know you guys, there was a show earlier this week with Jeff on and Dr. Joe, and I think, and this is something I learned a long time ago, is your perception is your reality, no matter how much I try to change it. So we have to look at it and say, what are our perceptions that make people want to go out and destroy other people's property for the sake of trying to? I think for some people, it's just an opening to go do that. They, when I hear of statues or memorials being damaged, it has nothing to do with the current situation for rioting. Then they're marching. They're just, and it's going to upset some people, but I think they're marching for the wrong reason, because they're just lemmings. It's almost like, if you have a flood and it starts pulling things in off the bank, the stuff off the bank did not choose to get in the flood. It was drawn in, and it's not strong enough to stay there. And I think when we say, you know what, this is about, again, going back to be, who do we want to be as an individual? Who do we want to be as a community? Who do we want to be as a nation? And let's start being those people. When I think we do this, it's not a process. It's like turn on a light switch. If you want the light to go if you want the room to go from dark to light, all you have to do is turn on the switch. That's being light. It's not a generational change. It's a choice, and to do it right now. So I think if there's anything we can do is decide, hey, wait a second, is this working for me? No. Well, who do I want to be? And then seek someone like you out to say, what characteristics, because my perceptions aren't allowing me to get there, what do I need to do? What traits do I need to have? Well, I need to be a better listener. Great. What does that look like? Teach me. And then put myself in the situation where I have to be a better listener. That's
what I've constantly done. After I graduated the School of Ministry 22 years ago, I realized I wasn't ready to be a minister. And so I went and put a backpack on my back and said, you know what, I want to travel the world for 3 months and see what I'm made of. If I put myself in a position where I don't know anybody and folks don't know me, what am I made of? How do I figure my way around? In Poland when I'm hungry and I don't speak Polish, in West Africa, in Ghana, when I'm walking down the street and from across the street, there's a group of folks, yelling over at me, oh, Bruni. And I don't even know. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to die. And it's just basically like, hey, there's a white person, like we don't see you very much over here. And I'm just like, hey, white dude. To constantly put myself in positions to see what I was made of, and to, where was I going with that? To expand and to grow and what were we talking about? I don't know what just happened. I went back on my globetrotting trip real quick, and
because you weren't ready to become a minister at 22 years ago. So I think you were looking for more ammunition, if you will. You weren't quite ready to take on that role.
That's what it is, to actually put myself to listen.
See, I was listening.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I was hoping if it wasn't you, it'd be somebody else. Ammunition, whatever experience, what it is to listen, to hear stories about when, NATO bombed Belgrade, you know, when NATO bombed Serbia, and to sit and listen to family stories in their homes in the center of Belgrade and listen to the pain and to cultivate compassion because of that. You know, to be at a wedding party in Novi Sad, Serbia, for folks that had been married for, you know, however, they'd been married for 7, 8 years. And because Slobodan Milosevic was in power, they couldn't tell anybody because they were a mixed culture couple. And so finally Milosevic was out of power and they had a wedding party and I got to be there.
Wow.
You know, like that's the kind of stuff. So I think one of the things I did is I put myself deliberately in very uncomfortable, sometimes probably unsafe situations so that I could learn mostly about me and how I would show up in those situations, but also so much rich information from other folks, you know, about how they're living. We had a question here for you directly, Jeff. It says, Jeff is motivating. It's true, he is. Needs to take this on the road. Does Jeff have a weekly program? How do we stay in contact with him? And there was another one, I think. Sorry if you covered this. I missed part of the interview. How long has Jeff been in this teaching? Does he speak at centers? Does Jeff have a book? You want to speak to both of those things?
First of all, thank you very much. You know, when I was speaking on techniques. You know, we speak on marketing. We do a lot of videos on things like that. Before I was teaching how to invest in real estate, I was fortunate to do very well there. I've been in this teaching since, which I didn't know, but I can remember back I was probably, you know, 8 or 9 years old. And I remember there was a book that I read because my parents were visiting their friends and I was bored out of my mind because their kids were much older and I was just a little kid. And I started reading a book, Psycho-Cybernetics. And so even back then, so I tested it right then. That's when Rubik cubes first came in. See it and you can believe it. So I closed my eyes and I saw myself making this Rubik cube happen. And in about a minute, I flipped it around and it freaked me out. It's almost like fire, you know? And so I would say since about 10, so just only a couple of years because I'm not that old. But when I really got deep into spiritual learning, it was in 2000, maybe late 2007, early 2008.
Okay, cool. And what about, do you do any public speaking now? Do you have a book? Do you, what folks want to hear more from you, it sounds like?
I have a couple of books. One book is How to Invest in Real Estate Outside Your Area and Become Rich. We did that, you know, many years ago. The other one is, it's called Reservations. It's for restaurants. Again, it's an industry specific kind of thing. I personally would love to do more speaking. I'm in a group with a guy named Grant Baldwin. Maybe some of you've heard of that. And I would love to do more speaking. Honestly, it's a matter of space. Right now, I just don't have the bandwidth to do that, but I would love to do that.
Yeah. Right on. Cool.
Well, so thank you. I really, really appreciate that.
Yeah. So, hey, agreed. Let's see. How do we, Jeff needs to take on the road. Yeah. Does Jeff have a weekly program? How do we stay in contact with him? Well, Jeff's, how would folks, if they want to reach out to you, Jeff, how do they stay in contact with you?
Boy, I do gardening every Sunday at my house.
Are you going to give us your home address?
Yeah, no.
You've got a pool and it's open.
Yeah, I guess, you know, how do you stay in touch with me? I would say, you know, you can contact me at Jeff@SwingPoint Media. I love having that communication. I do have a show. It's called The Local Voice. It's a weekly show. I haven't, honestly, because of you know, the last 12 or 13 weeks. It's a show where I would interview people or I'd have some information like we're talking about today. And it was an outlet for me just to kind of share. And again, I kept learning. I said, hey, what do I want to learn? And I would invite those people to my show and I'd interview them. And it was like a free masterclass. And so that's what I did. And I've probably done that now. We probably have a couple hundred episodes. So you can see me on iTunes called The Local Voice.
There you go. There you go. Awesome. Okay, cool. Let's see, a couple other things coming in. Let's see, Jeff, what are the favorite mantras that you live by? Smiling Susie wants to know, favorite mantras that you live by?
every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. That's probably one. And then one I've really adopted is I'm going to come out of this stronger than I went in. And there doesn't have to be a time frame for that. It can be say, hey, I'm going to leave today stronger than I came in. And it may be because of this conversation, right? That when I come out, I'm going to be stronger than when I went in. And if we can do that every day, it's just a little bit. It doesn't have to be amazing. It's like that whole bamboo thing. It takes 5 years, and in that 5th year, it goes 90 feet. We just have to keep nurturing it.
Yep. Right on. Let's see. We've got a couple other things coming in here. Do you have a blog, Jeff?
I do blog. It's on our website. It's not me in specific. It's probably, again, it's more industry specific for SwingPoint. It's at swingpointmedia.com. That's our website.
Okay.
I love to write. Yep.
Here's an interesting one. You talk about having the key, in quotations, key. What does the lock look like that your key fits?
Maybe expand on that just a little bit. What does the lock look like?
We don't have a name. It's a new popular newbie. Can you expound on that a little bit? What does the lock look like? I think all of our locks look different, and then we find a key, right? I mean, seems like it's how many different locks are there in the world, and how many different keys do there need to be to fit those locks? Is there a particular issue, newcomer, that you want to address? That would be helpful, I think.
To me, it feels like, what you just said is we all have different places we're at. And, if we look at life on this timeline, we're all on there in different places. And somebody might say, hey, my lock today looks like I need to figure out a way to do X. I need to figure out a way to add $200 more a month to my income. Okay. Yep. So what can I do that will fit that? And then that becomes the key. Another might be say, hey, I have to, and this is a big thing. This is huge right now, is most of our companies, including CSL, when this whole COVID thing hit, is we had to make a massive pivot, and we had to do it as seamless as possible. I mean, think about it. We went from doing one show a week to 7 days a week.
Yep.
That is a massive shift. And my goal is to say, hey, when that happens, we come out of this, we're stronger than we went in. And we start to see some numbers of the number of hours and minutes that people are watching the program, the new subscribers, the growth in the database. All these are things that I say, those are the keys to the lock. They really are working. And maybe the lock look like, how do we come out of this better than we went in? We didn't really know that answer. We didn't know the how, we just knew what we wanted. And then it started appearing and said, hey, let's start doing this and see what happens.
Yep. And that is, we keep saying that the building might be closed, but our center is wide open. We would be fumbling idiots if it wasn't for Jeff, or at least we'd be, let's see. Linda wants to know, what ideas are you and Reverend Charles playing with as CSL sets new trends in spiritual outreach?
Oh boy, that's fun. You want to take that one?
Well, I think part of it is what we're doing, and part of it is I sent Jeff a text late last night. My brain starts working really in the evening time. And I sent him, I said, it's really time for me to start taking this thing like 40 notches, up. Something like that, I said. And I think as far as spiritual outreach, we need to come in from, what do we have here?
It will involve this.
The drone, there it is.
Yeah.
It's to actually start getting, and it's always interesting, Jeff, when I'm watching a movie, like a different camera angle or a way something's shot makes me think about it differently. And I think that's what we're being called to, is a different angle and looking at how we relate to each other. Like we've talked about going out on the street and interviewing folks, like, hey, this is what's happening right now. I'm Reverend Charles, Center for Spiritual Living, Palm Desert. This is what this is what we're up to. And to actually start creating more inroads into the community rather than waiting for people to come to us, and to look at things from just a slightly different angle of how we can really empower and have new voices. And there is a spiritual revolution happening right now, big time. And I think it's just continue to consider ideas from the drone angle. what a drone can do from different, if we watch movies now, we have entirely different angles. You don't have to, you don't just have the helicopter, who's just kind of flying down one way and then it's got to make a big turn. You've got a drone that can do everything.
Yeah.
And it gives us a different way of looking at life. And I think that's what we're being called to right now, still discovering what those different angles are. And just that different lens, that different angle does something different to our brain in order to consider something differently. And so I think reaching out more, having more interaction with folks, with just folks out there, and having real human conversations, not from a dogmatic or, hey, it's got to be in alignment with the center's principles or anything like that, but who are you? What makes you tick? Do you want your life to be better? And let's just talk about it, kind of thing.
Yeah, when this whole thing first started and we started locking down, maybe in the first week, as I was going, I like to go for walks, and I haven't done that in a while, just because my mornings start about 4:30 in the morning and they end late.
What time is that?
About 4 or 4:30.
Is that an actual? That's AM. That's a time on the clock that exists.
My wife says, "Why do you get up in the middle of the night?" But I find that those are some power hours where I can get a lot done before the rest of the world is awake. But I felt the need, and I didn't do this, and I would still do it. I just had to figure out the time of, I just want to turn on a live stream and allow people to come and go as they wish, and allow them to talk their issues through without judgment, and just be there and listen for them. Because I think that's such a healing piece that, there's so much when you turn the TV on, which I've taken Dr. Joe's, message now for, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years, where he said, just just stop watching the news. And I can't say I don't ever watch the news, but I'll watch it for like 3 or 4 minutes and I'll turn it off. And it's only because maybe I've stopped long enough to eat and I've just turned it on for kind of some noise, and then I move on. But I would love to do that. Just have, hey, it's just an open forum. You can come and go. I don't care where you're from. But if you're hurting, you just want to have some conversation. That's probably the next thing I'd like to do. Cool.
Love it. I think a couple other comments came in here. Let's see we got some activity.
Put my toy away.
Do It, Minister on the Street show. What do you guys do to keep in top physical shape? Go ahead and take that one, Jeff.
I think the key is to keep the camera above my waistline. I have to give my wife 1,000% credit for this. She is such a great cook. She's a great chef. There's no doubt about it. And she's always cooking very healthy foods. The only time I get off track is when I'm out and about and I have to grab something on the go. And, that's probably the big thing. I used to, when the gym was open, I'd go to the gym about 6 days a week. That was probably my 5 or 6 days a week. And I love that. I do miss that. That's probably what I do.
Well, I can tell you from personal experience that Jeff's wife, she's what's the word? A zealot. I mean, she got, she's like, Charles, so what are you doing to take care of yourself? I was, over for dinner a couple of nights ago, and none of my answers were acceptable.
Well, what I did, my world.
I said, look, come on, Carmen, I just moved down here. I'm kind of getting my routine. She's like, well, so what, Charles? There's no getting off the hook with this woman. That's what I've found. So God bless you. I know there are plenty of things I could be doing to stay in top physical shape that I don't. I would say that's an area where, I've got tons of room to improve there. Absolutely. From diet to more exercise. I do love walking the golf course when I do, though, to have my feet. And that's I don't know, with 30 pounds on and a good, 3.5, 4 mile walk is helpful, but there's always room for improvement there. So thanks for the question. It actually brings it, just kind of more to my awareness there. Let's see. I already do it, Minister. The thought of literally going out on the street reminds me of the Bible thumping corner proselytizer. That would take some creative thinking to do such a thing. For ancient wisdom, new thought, wouldn't it? Well, my idea with it is actually looks more like, if you watch any late shows, it looks more like a Jimmy Fallon or a Conan going out there just having fun with it.
That's right.
Not to bring our message, but just to have a conversation, make people laugh, engage with folks, get to know them more from a lighthearted standpoint than Yeah, not proselytizing. I've never been into that. You know, even the whole idea of being a missionary and going someplace and saying, "Hey, we have the truth. Um, bring a Bible, you know, whatever it is. This is the way it's got to be." Many years ago, a group of us came up with this idea of being compassionaries, not missionaries. You
Mm.
just show up with compassion, show up with an open heart. How can we learn from each other? That's my idea of it. I just don't think it works. I think it's oppressive when you just go and show up and say, "Hey, we've got the answers. Listen to me." Like Jeff said earlier, it's in the listening. It's in that real kind of circular. It's in the circular nature of communication. Yeah.
I agree. I think that's. I'll share this one, and I know we need to wrap up. But there were a few years back where a friend of mine was. He's a radio host, and he was trying to get another show started. And I said, "Hey, let's just get on a bus. We'll go live." The bus had Wi-Fi, and he never would take the lead. But I thought there is a niche where he's on the bus and he's talking to people on the bus and finding out about their life, and he's already a great host. But this would take it to another level. The same thing you've talked about of taking it out on the streets. I can't wait to do that. We just have to say, we have to put that flag in the ground and say, today we start.
Today, exactly. And that's what it is. You know, we can only plan for so much. And then
That's
and
right.
then planning becomes procrastinating becomes whatever.
Well, you know, it was pretty tough to do that the last 4 or 5 weeks because there are no people on the streets.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
all sheltered in.
Exactly. Let's see. Nice character, coffee and chat with Charles. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, no, this has been a fun little ride. I think we should do this, you know, from time to time.
Thank you.
Certainly, we appreciate your technical prowess, but also your heart and your brain and your commitment to what I feel is just a commitment to humanity, the most precious, beautiful things about humanity and who we are and our struggles and our foibles, and also what's beautiful and brilliant about us. I've really, in the 6 months I've been here, really appreciated getting to know you better and the walk that we're on, and look forward to so much more.
Well, thank you. I mean, I've got a long ways to go, and like I said, every day I try to exit better than I came in. And if I could, before we go, just give a little shout out. We do have a charity that we're doing a virtual concert for tomorrow night. Starts about 5 o'clock. It's for the Children's Discovery Museum of the Desert. They're just getting crushed because they're a high touch museum. And that starts at 5. Even our Barry Bond from the CSL Center, he's our sound guy, but he also has an incredible voice. He'll be part of that. So it's a concert, and we're going to get to know the Children's Discovery Museum of the Desert a little better. And so we'd love for you to come there, and if you can support it, share it. We'd love that. So thank you.
Love it. Yeah, my daughter and I have been there. It's just right down the street from me in Rancho Mirage, and it's a fantastic place. It really is for children. There's so much so much discovery and learning. It's a cool spot. Really, it is. So thanks for doing that. And that's tomorrow.
Yes, that's tomorrow. Hey, also just one little thing, if I could toss this in here.
Yep.
This is something that I just want to give huge shout outs, because here's the thing. We know from a marketing company, no matter how well we are marketing someone, if their stuff is, excuse the expression, crap, you just can't overdo it. You can't outmaneuver it with marketing. And we have been reached out to on 2 different occasions, and we're expanding the reach for Center for Spiritual Living. I had a conversation this past Saturday with a company that has a really large platform that said, hey, we like your stuff. Can we use it on their platform? So what it does, it gives you another voice. And it's almost like saying, you know, you're using a megaphone, now you're using this big speaker with to get more people. And I'm excited about that. That couldn't happen if you guys 7 days a week, weren't putting out great stuff. So, you know, kudos to you and Dr. Joe and everybody who does it with a Sensational Six. You guys are amazing. I'm excited about that. So thank you.
Yeah, amen. We do. And Dr. Joe and just the commitment of the center and what we're up to continue to present material, you know, stuff that can make our lives better, stuff that can open our hearts. And there is there's some real anxiety out there, and we want to bring peace. You know, peace can happen right now as well. Solution is available right now, and this is the way that we do that. So thank you for that, Jeff. How can folks tune into the concert tomorrow?
They can go to cvcovidrelief.com.
cvcovidrelief.com.
That's it.
Excellent. Cool. Thank you for that. And thank you again for hanging out. I think maybe, was there one more? Yeah, we do got to get going here, but was there one more thing in there? Jeff is brilliant. Thank you for sharing.
We don't want to miss that one.
Nope. No, it's true. And let that be the final comment.
Thank you. I'm just kidding, obviously. So thank you.
No, he's not. He's a brilliant man. Hey, and you know what I want to say though, is that if you're not going to pat yourself, you mentioned it earlier in the show, if you're not going to pat yourself on the back, who's gonna? Who can we really ever count on absolutely to give ourselves a pat on the back except ourselves? We'd like to think that our parents will, or our best friends or whatever, but the only person we really can ever count on to do that is ourselves. So why not be our own best champion? Why not champion our lives? And that there's some goodness there. So I know it's, we want to, have a balance of humility and this and that, but anyway, I think you get the point. So couple of announcements. Thank you again, Jeff, so much. Tomorrow, well, first of all, we gratefully accept your financial contributions to continue to support the center. We're still in the midst of it. And as we say, the building might be closed, but the center is wide open. We are doing this 7 days a week and appreciate our guests, and we contribute to them when they come on the show. And we're still paying salaries and things like that. So your financial contribution to the center is greatly, greatly appreciated. So please, you can, through PayPal, you can text in your offering. I know on Sunday mornings, there's a QR code that Jeff puts up. You can call into the center. You can mail a check. You can do all the stuff. And it looks like Jeff just posted a link to be able to contribute. So thank you for doing that. Tomorrow, my good buddy, Reverend Daryl Jones from Chicago will be joining me. It's going to be a fascinating story. He's a second-generation minister. His father in Ohio was a minister for a long time. His father recently passed away. He's just an extraordinary man, and he's one of the loves of my life. And so I can't wait to share Reverend Daryl with you tomorrow at 10 a.m. We've got our meditation at 10 a.m. on Saturday. And then, of course, Father's Day is June 21st. Happy Father's Day to all you papas out there. Another wonderful service, and it's the last of the 4 agreements with Dr. Joe. And then next week, we move into a whole new slate of guests and chats and music and all sorts of stuff. So God bless you. Thank you again, Jeff Harrison and Swing Point Media, for joining me today. And Center for Spiritual Living, thank you, community, for tuning in, listening, for all of your support, your love, and how beautiful it is to be in community together. So have an extraordinary day. God bless you. Much love. Peace. We are out of here.